Hello, you see my trusty Amiga 2000 behind me? Well, it isn't quite so trusty anymore. Recently it's become a little bit more unstable and I don't exactly know why. Sometimes on power up it just sits there and does absolutely nothing. Sometimes it boots and claims of disk errors, and sometimes it works perfectly. The really strange thing is, if I disable the accelerator card and boot from the old GVP card inside, it all works perfectly. Now my first thought was it was the socket that the accelerator card is plugged into, given its age. So a while back I replaced that and reflowed a whole bunch of contacts on the back. But the problem still exists. I'm pretty sure the issue isn't with the accelerator card, and I'll show you why I think that in a minute. So in this video we're going to investigate and troubleshoot the issue, and fingers crossed, hopefully we'll fix it. So I'm going to start by showing you what it's actually doing, and as you can see when I power it up, nothing happens. It just sits there, dead. The strange thing is, sometimes I can get it to boot into a state where you get this weird colour pattern on screen, which won't go away. And then sometimes it boots this far, but you get a strange PFS3 error. And there's nothing wrong with the hard disk image either, because sometimes without changing anything, it boots perfectly fine. And this leaves me to believe that it's possibly something wrong on maybe the address or data lines or something. It could also be an instability with the power supply, as this is using the original Amiga 2000 supply, so I'll need to check that as well. Now the reason I think it's not the accelerator card is I remember seeing that stripy purple pattern before. Do you remember when I was playing with the Action Replay cartridge, the Amiga 2000 version? Well, I don't have any footage, but I do remember at one point it also caused this intermittent issue too. At the time, I assumed it was because of some strange incompatibility between the Action Replay cartridge and Kickstart 3.1, but now I'm not so sure. Being an intermittent fault, it's going to be really difficult to find the fault as well, but I have an idea. If the problem only occurs when something is connected to the CPU slot, then maybe if I remove the motherboard from the case so I can get access to everything, then I can use one of the CPU relocators to move the CPU into the CPU socket and see if I can replicate the issue. If the problem still exists, then I should be able to simply buzz out and test for continuity between the pins on the CPU socket and the CPU relocator. If I can't get the problem to occur, then it must be one of the connections on the CPU socket that both the Action Replay cartridge and the accelerator card use, but not the CPU relocator. Well, that's the plan at least. I suspect somewhere there's a trace that may be slightly cracked or something, or maybe a higher resistance than it should be. But before we dive into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to my wonderful Patreon supporters, and I really appreciate your support. And if you'd like to support my projects and my future videos, then please follow the link in the video description to Patreon. Right, let's get that motherboard and power supply out of the case and onto the bench. So, let me talk you through what we've got here. I've got the motherboard connected via its standard power supply, and slightly out of view I've got a floppy drive connected up. Up here I have a small CRT monitor that I can use to see the picture. It only supports composite video, but the TV is actually colour. However, the Amiga 2000's composite video connector is actually only black and white. But that doesn't matter, we don't need to see the colour. And as you can see right now, it's working perfectly, and no matter what I do, it always boots properly. Sorry about the flicker on the monitor, this camera won't adapt to that. So, I'll remove that CPU from the board and install it into the CPU socket relocator. Getting the CPU out is easy enough. Fitting it into the relocator board, however, well, that's a little bit more tricky, getting all those pins perfectly aligned, but eventually I manage it. And powering up, it just gets stuck, but then I'm not sure what these two switches on the CPU relocator actually do, and after some experimentation, I found they both need to be switched on, and then the Amiga starts properly. And whilst that's great, it's kinda not very helpful. It does prove the socket is working correctly, but it doesn't explain why things break when the accelerator or the action replay card is inserted. I think I'm going to have to start adding hardware back in until it stops working, and I think I'll start with adding the GVP card. So I've put the GVP card back in, I've removed it out of its bracket so it'll actually fit while sitting on the desk, and annoyingly, yet again, it's all booting perfectly. Maybe this is going to be harder to figure out than I thought. So either something about the layout of this on my bench is allowing this to work, or the CPU relocated just isn't allowing the problem to be seen. The thing is, when I disabled the accelerator card before, it would always boot perfectly from the GVP card. It's all a little bit strange. The next thing I'm going to do is to measure the resistance between the pins on the CPU socket and the same pin on the CPU relocator socket. They should all be very low, but maybe I can find one that's just a little bit higher than the rest. So, working my way along all of the pins, I've noticed that there's 4 pins, 11, 12, 13 and 15, that don't appear to be connected. This might be correct, but we'll have a look at that after we finish this. And at one point I lost count and had to start all over again, but eventually we make it all the way through and I find no other potential problems. So let's have a look at what those pins are supposed to be. Looking at the pin out of the 68000 processor, well, 11 is called BG, that's bus grant, 12 is bus grant acknowledge, 13 is BR, bus request, and 15 is clock, the main CPU clock. Now, that's all a little bit strange to say the least, so let's have a look at the schematics for the Amiga 2000. We can see that pin 11 goes off somewhere, we'll look at that in a minute. It makes sense that we couldn't find continuity between pin 12, as that's the output of a logic gate. And I'm guessing those two signals, the BOS and the BCAC, will make their own way onto the CPU slot in a different way. Pin 13, like 11, disappears somewhere else, and pin 15 is going directly to the 7 MHz clock. So let's have a look at the signals that are missing on the CPU socket. Pin 11 on the CPU is actually connected to pin 64 on the CPU socket, and that's labelled CBG, so different, but I'm not sure where that trace goes. Pin 12 is connected to pin 62 on the CPU socket, and that's marked as BGAC. That went through a gate to get to the onboard CPU. Pin 13 is connected to pin 60 on the CPU socket, and that's labelled CBR. And that goes over to the Buster chip somewhere, and the main CPU is connected to another pin on that chip. Finally, pin 15, that should be the 7 MHz clock, is connected to pin 7 on the CPU socket, labelled V7M. So I've buzzed out a few more connections and everything seems to be going where it should. So I guess I'm going to reinstall the CPU back onto the main board and try something different. I really need to be able to reproduce this problem whilst it's all accessible and on the bench, because it's almost impossible to get multimeter probes in there when it's all in the case. The next thing I'm going to try is that action replay card, mostly because it's not as big as that accelerator card, and if I can get it to break in that format I should be able to probe the CPU pins to see what it's doing, or not. As you can see, I've reinstalled the CPU back onto the onboard socket. I've installed the action replay card into the CPU socket, and I've some test gear on the bench in case there's anything exciting to look at. So I'll power it up and see if I can make it break. And on power up, the first thing you'll see on screen is the action replay card kicks in straight away. This is an incompatibility with the Kickstart ROM, and as you can see when I switch the ROM out for Kickstart 1.3, the action replay card behaves as it should. But here's the thing. No matter how many times I power cycle this and tap random areas, I still can't get it to fail to boot. Before, it wouldn't even go to the Kickstart screen, and I'm wondering if this is because I did replace the CPU socket and this one works better for this card. Intermittent faults really are an absolute nightmare to diagnose because first of all you've got to make it happen, and then you've got to be able to measure it when it does, and if you fix it, how can you be completely 100% sure you have? It may seem strange me tapping parts of the board and power cycling the machine, but whilst it was in the box, I was simply able to tap the side of the unit and that was enough to make it work or not, so the issue must be some sort of physical connection. Maybe the fault just doesn't show with the action replay card anymore, so I'm going to have to bite the bullet and reinstall that accelerator. So, powering up, and well, it appears to be working. Typical. I'm going to speed up the boot sequence throughout this section, but oh, this still has the PFS3 disk error. I know you can't really make that out too clearly, so you'll have to rely on what I can see. I'm going to remove the GVP card in case it's actually related and try again. Same problem. Let's give the card a little wiggle and try again, see if it really is a connection problem. And that just booted perfectly. I'm going to ever so slightly raise the back of the card. I mean, it should still be making contact, but this time it doesn't start at all. I'll reseat that and try again. Now we're back with the disk error. This is just so weird. And now we're back to those weird wavy purple lines. So at least I can replicate the problem anyway. Remember, this is a new CPU socket I'm using here, and in a minute I might try and buzz out all the contacts whilst it's still in a broken state. Now, one interesting thing I noticed whilst putting this back into the slot was that the back of the card appears to be resting on this capacitor. Now, I don't know if that's preventing the card from being fully inserted or if it's somehow causing a bad connection with the capacitor. I guess depending on what it's for, it could cause instabilities. According to the schematics, that capacitor, C400 I think, as the writing disappears under the power connector, is one of the 5V filtering and smoothing capacitors, so I've decided to take a look at the 5V rail on the scope to see how smooth the supply is. And I'm sure you're thinking looking at that this looks horrible. Not just ripple, but really nasty. However, I've turned up the vertical range an awful lot, and if I told you the scope measures that at less than 22 millivolts peak to peak, so really only wobbling around the 5V by 11 millivolts in each direction, I think you'll agree that's fine. And according to the Commodore specification, you're allowed up to 50 millivolts of ripple, so we're well within spec. All the same, I'd like to push that capacitor into the board a little bit more so there's no chance of it being in the way. So let's do that. With that capacitor slightly adjusted, you can now see that there's some clearance between the bottom of the card and the top of the capacitor. So let's power it up and see if it made any difference. So, powering it on, and well, that didn't seem to make any difference at all. Well, at least I know that capacitor is okay and out of the way, so the only thing remaining must be the contacts on the CPU socket. After all, the slightest wiggle on the card seems to fix it. And the slightest wiggle isn't really even enough to apply any pressure to potential dry or cracked solder joints either. Even so, I reflowed them just to be sure, but it didn't make any difference. One other thing I tried was, whilst the card wasn't quite inserted properly, was to see what diagram did. The weird part is that if the card was working, then diagram said everything was working fine as well. But when not working, diagram wouldn't even start. I also noticed that if the card wasn't quite inserted towards the back properly, then the faults happened. But from the front, it made no difference. The reason this is interesting is that when I was using the CPU relocator, most of the connections would have just been the front of the card slot. I think this is still a problem probably with the connections on the CPU connector and the card, so there's only two things left that I can really think to do. One is to get a bunch of contact cleaner on there, and the other is to try and bend those connector pins a little so they apply a little bit more force when connecting to the card. It's easier than it sounds because the top of each of those connector pins is locked into place, so somehow I need to bow the middle of them out a little bit more. Anyway, let's give that a try. Well, I'm not expecting any miracles, although there was some subtle dirty marks on the card connector. The thing is, with this being an intermittent issue, it just may reappear at any moment anyway. Regardless, let's see if that made any difference at all. And first attempt, still getting disk errors. I'll wobble the card and try again. And this time it boots perfectly. Well, I think that's quite enough of that for now. There's only two things left that I can think to do. One is to find another CPU connector, maybe something from a different manufacturer, and the other, well, I don't really want to do this, but I could add a little bit of solder onto each of the pads on the card, just to make them push slightly harder. It's nasty and I'd rather not. It's crazy that even the slightest wobble of the card can sometimes fix the problem, at least only temporarily. And if anyone has a better suggestion or something different to try, then please leave a message in the comments below. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting even though we didn't solve the problem, but please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel as well. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.